Welcome to the Chain Out podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey, everybody. That's right. Chain Out podcast. Welcome to season 2, episode 97. And it's me, Jeremy, the limited time host with your favorite co-host, Daryl. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay, and we'll leave it at that. How are you doing?
Ooh. Yeah, you know, when you put something cryptic like that, you're just looking to fill the comments section, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm doing all right. It was kind of good while it lasted. We were together. We were at the home studio, both of us side by side. And alas, we are apart again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it
So
happens, right?
Yeah, I'm traveling for work and joining remotely tonight and from the podcast studio in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's the
Live
second
from
time.
the hotel. No smoke and
Yeah.
mirrors here.
No, it seems to be working fine. You know, we've done it once before. We had a trial run through, and now you're there again. So we're making it work. These things happen. So, but I wanted to let everybody know that we have a great show coming up tonight. Tonight, we're going to be joined by Innova Canada President John Gould-Thorpe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be good. It's good. Well, you know, when we were together, which was, I see Doc in the comments, and the comments are full with people. Thanks to everybody for joining us.
Yeah.
But when we were last together, that was out at, we went out to Hermitage on the weekend. And you had coerced me to play the Hermitage Blues, and we had our friend and listener Sonia out with us as well. But before we talk about the Hermitage Blues, I want to say I hadn't played with Sonia in a little while, and it's been amazing to see her improvement. Like she's sending the disc further, she's throwing farther, she's throwing straighter, she's getting pars. Like before, getting a par was like getting a birdie, and now they're almost coming up regularly for her. So it was awesome playing with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I noticed the difference as well. Like you said, more distance and straighter shots. There's less early and late releases. Their discs are going where she wants them to go. Getting better at selecting the right disc now that she knows her disc, that ones that turn left, ones that will turn right. So yeah, definitely improvement. And then I should just also mention that she's now an official PDGA member. She signed up, she got her membership today.
Oh, well, congrats to her. That's awesome. The only thing I think I would comment on, and I think she would laugh at this one too, I know she's in the comments there, is that she might have to work on her strategic use of the entire T-pad, that there is a whole T-pad for her. She does not need to use one end only of it.
Exactly. You don't have to use the final 3 inches.
Exactly. So, but yeah, Hermitage Blues, you're getting ready to play a gig ogre coming up in a couple weeks.
Get out, get rated.
That is correct. And do you feel the practice is helping? Are you ready? Do you think you're going to be all set for that one?
I mean, that's I think we have both done the same thing. Whenever we go and practice at Hermitage, we're going there for fun practice rounds. We're just going there to get our one round in the week sort of thing. And we normally just, if we're going out there to have some fun, we go and play the Reds, because normally, like you say, we're either playing with Sonia or we're playing with somebody else that wants to play Reds. The thing about the get in, get out, get rated that I'm doing is I turn 50 next year. So this is the last couple of tournaments of the year that I can play. And I thought, why not? So I'm stepping up to MP40 just because it's a get in, get out, get rated. There's no prize packs anyway. It's only a few extra bucks to test myself in the deep waters of pro. So yeah, I'm having to practice those blues, and it's a learning curve. But it's going good.
Definitely. No, it was a good time. I enjoyed that with you. And then the other thing you've got going on is the Rundle League is kind of wrapped up, and that's a money league. So how did your last week go? And are you in the money?
Well, the thing was, towards the end, I think that maybe the last 5 or 6 weeks, there was 2 weeks that I was unable to attend. I forget why I missed one league night, but obviously there was one league night that we missed because we had a little tournament called Canadian Nationals that we were a part of, and we went and played that. But before I left for Nationals, I think I was in 3rd or 4th, and then I missed a week, and then when I came back, suddenly I found myself in 6th because everybody else realized that it's coming down to the wire and they need to start dropping off those rounds, so they kind of jumped ahead of me, and I think I finished in 6th spot. And our league is a top 40% payout. So if I do the math correctly, I think I'm probably in the top 40% of my tier. So it'll be some sort of a payout. Maybe I'll get enough to buy a coffee. Who knows?
There you go. Good.
Yeah. Well, talking of tournaments, like we just were talking about then, we always like to highlight a Canadian tournament that's been happening. And this week's Canadian tournament we want to highlight is the Northern Ontario Championships. They took place over in Hilton Beach. Now, for those who don't know, Hilton Beach is on St. Joseph Island near Sault Ste. Marie and has a population, according to Jeremy, of around 200 people. 86 people.
2021 census, I would tell you.
Well, there you go. 86 people showed up for the 2-round, 2-day event, and that was put on and run by FA40 player Corey Murdoch. She was the tournament director for that one. And from what you found out, there was one course that looks like it was a lot closer to Sault Ste. Marie than the other one, so that may have been part of the reason why there was just the 2 rounds. But the first round was a straight 18-hole. We're kind of used to that. The second round was 27 holes, so it kind of made up for it.
Well, I think that was it. If you're going to drive that 60 kilometers or whatever it looked like from Sault Ste. Marie onto an island to a 200-person town, and you go to a course and you're going to play 18 holes for the day, that's okay. But I think 27 makes it even sweeter. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, on the MPO side of that tournament, Thomas Gilbert took down the win. So he was not down south playing in the DGPTs. That's a tough one to get into, but he did go up north and play in a championship there. So he took the win with a total score of minus 26. That was 7 points more than second place, which was Chris Ozolins. How come I never say it right? Do you think I did okay there? I just like to say Oz at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what we just need to start calling him. We did meet him out at Nationals, and he said, just imagine it's Irish, so it's Ozolins, or it's not Ozolins, it's Ozolins or Ozolins or Oz.
Yeah, we'll get it one time, Oz. Yeah, but anyways, Thomas managed a 1041 rated event, Daryl, and part of that 1041 came from his 27-hole tournament or 27-hole round, that second round. He scored 12 birdies and 2 of those ever rare, hard to get, never found except for in Northern Ontario, elusive eagles.
Well, if anyone's going to get them, it's going to be Thomas Gilbert. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, why couldn't have I had him in my picks for that? 2 eagles in one tournament?
Yeah, exactly. And then over on the FPO side, previous guest of the show, Alicia Hums took down first place, scoring an even round over the 2 rounds. That was good for a 993 rated event. That's 20 points above her PDGA rating.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And I do want to mention one other division for you, as it's one that, as you just mentioned, you're going to be turning 50. You're going to be paying close attention to it. That's the MP50 division. And I know you talked about, I'm going to dabble my toes in some of these pro ones. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this. Okay. One of our Alberta friends who's moved to Ontario, Howie Meeker, he took first place in the event, scoring a plus 10 at this tournament. And then that was 9 strokes above another friend that we know plays quite well, and that's Tobin Isett. He was in second place with plus 19. So knowing that you're going to go up against Howie Meeker or Tobin Isett if you head out east, are you still feeling pretty confident about hitting that MP50 division next year?
Well, I think we talked about this before when we were down at Spring Runoff earlier this year, is that we were playing MA40, and I had seen where the MP50s were teeing off. And they were still teeing off on the pro tee pads, and there was on hole 10 at Nick Sharon. There's a big water carry that you have to get over to make it into a landing area on the fairway. So I think I had said that maybe it'll be course specific, and I'll see who else is in the tournament as well. Maybe I'll just leave it to MA50 for some of them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, doing a quick recap, heading over to the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They played their second playoff event over the weekend down at MVP Open at Maple Hill. We had 3 FPOs still in the mix and competing at that tournament. Of course, we had Miss Frisbee's Chantal Badinsky. She was down there. She finished 23rd, which was just 2 strokes behind the cash line. Rebecca Dawn, we've had her on the podcast. We've had all of these people on the podcast. She finished tied for 17th. And Sophia Donica, she had the best finish of our Canadians. Her -5, round 4 was the hot round of the FPOs, and that jumped her all the way up 8 spots, finishing in 7th place. So that's another top 10 finish for her. Growing list of accomplishments. And I did just see on Instagram today that Innova put out that she also claimed a playoff wildcard spot as well for that finish. So congratulations to all the FPOs, all our Canadians down on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, that's fantastic getting that wild card spot. But that's not going to be for a little while still, the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships, because before that, we get USDGC, which is a major on the MPO side, and then on the FPO side, they play Throw Pink, which we all think should be a major, but I don't. It's still yet to come, to be determined, I think. Right.
Yeah.
So that's coming up next, and those are both events that the players look forward to. I know as a fan, I don't watch a ton of Disc Golf Pro Tour disc golf. I catch some highlights here and there, but there's some holes that instantly, when you see them at USDGC, you know them, right? Like as soon as you see it, you know there's that downhill right at the lake, the hay bales. It's are they going to hit that one? Are they going to skip off into the water or throw it right? You know, there's just some great holes and a great tournament to watch.
Yeah.
Daryl, I was going to stop for a sec here and just say I saw Josh Kern is in the comments, so welcome to him as well. Yeah. And did you see? I don't know if you noticed because he posted it up on Facebook there.
Yeah.
But he took an ace down on Rundle there, hole 12.
Exactly. Yeah. Followed it up with a double or a triple bogey on the next hole, but we won't talk about that, Josh, because Josh actually, me and Josh have been having words on Facebook because we played in the same tier during Rundle League. And like I mentioned there, before I went to Nationals, I think I was in third at one point. Josh was nipping on my heels, and he kept, he would put in a good round, and then I would put in just an equally good round, and we were kind of battling back. I went to Nationals, I come back, and Josh has jumped me by 2 spots, and then he goes and hits the ace on the last tournament round there as well. So good. Yeah, congrats to you, Josh.
Yeah, good work. And I believe too, when I saw it, it was so for those who don't know, hole 12, it sets up for a backhand hyzer, and what happens is it's from an elevated position going around some spruce trees. There's a lake on your left. On your right, you've got this tree that has been hit so many times that there's actually a couple gaps in it that have been carved out thanks to discs, so you can hit a gap line through this big bushy tree. But I don't think Josh cared about any of that, because I believe he threw it forehand over the lake and managed to ace it.
Yeah, nice shot.
Yeah. So good stuff. Okay, so we got our giveaway update that we like to do, and there's lots of giveaways going on. So let's get through this really quick.
Yeah.
The Limber Disc Golf hat has been given out. The Limber Open hat. That's been to Travis B, heading out to Kristen Swirls. We're all set there. Yeah. Then we also have our Falcons Flight towel and fanny pack giveaway. We were going to close that on Monday. We were a little slow to close it. So anybody listening, if you haven't gotten that contest, jump in there. There's tons of people in it. It's going to be a big wheel that we're going to be spinning there. Then we're going to get to the Judge Havoc discs, where we got 4 discs that he designed and signed from Gateway. And we'll break it down into 2 giveaways there. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got our 500 subscriber giveaway waiting in the wings. We're at 458. We need 42 more YouTube subscribers. So hop on there, make that happen. We got a bag. We got 5 discs. We've got towels. We've got so many things in that giveaway, and we can't wait to do it, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And sponsors, Daryl, I'm going to save that for the end of the episode.
Sounds
we'll
good.
Jump to those because we always got BR and also got Cardinal Disc Golf, but we'll talk a little bit more of that later. And stay tuned at the very end. When we're all done this episode, we'll roll into our Patreon, where we like to talk more disc golf, get everybody involved in the chat and that, and you can get a free link to join us by checking out our Patreon.
Absolutely. We have our guest waiting in the green room. They finished all the M&Ms. They're eagerly anticipating us to bringing them in. So let's move it on.
Is that why we call it the green room? Because it has green M&Ms in it?
I think so, maybe, yeah. I think it was called the green room because we had a guest that only wanted green M&Ms and nothing else. We had to go in and handpick them all out. Yeah.
Yeah, these big riders that they have. But okay, let's get to the guest.
Let's go.
Last week, our guests were from the Maritimes. This week, we are heading back out to the West Coast. Our guest is from Langley, British Columbia. He is the past president of the BC Disc Golf Association. He was the owner and operator of Ace Runners, one of the successful disc golf stores in Canada. He is now the president of Innova Canada. Join us in welcoming John Gould-Thorpe.
I'm doing well.
Good.
It's
Perfect. Great.
a pleasure to be on your call. I was messing with all my microphones and all my computer stuff to hopefully get something that would work well for you. So hopefully it all sounds properly.
Yeah, absolutely. You're sounding perfect. That's what we like to see.
Yeah,
Great.
and that's great too, because once in a while we'll have a guest on a little early and do a test. But coming in hot the way you are and sounding good like that, you did everything right.
Perfect. And I had to laugh as well when you said that last week it was from the East Coast and today I'm from the West Coast. But I don't know if you know, I was born and raised in Nova Scotia. So I lived there for the first 20 some years of my life. And then I moved here in 2000 is when I moved to British
Oh,
Columbia.
so then you're probably quite familiar with our guests from last week with Ben and Duncan.
Yes, I've met them both a couple times now, and very envious of all the beautiful land and opportunities they have to work with out there in the East Coast, because it feels like it's a little easier of a political and an agricultural access than we sometimes have in the West.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. We mentioned there that you are out in Vancouver right now. Now, one thing I noticed that when I've been getting out and playing recently, I've started to notice that a few of the tee pads are starting to get a few leaves. The fairways are starting to get a bit covered. Has fall set in out in Vancouver yet? Are you ready to pull the wet weather gear out just yet?
Yeah, this week has been really the first week of that truly, I guess, our winter, which
Right.
is anybody that's not from BC. When I say winter, it means rain. When everybody else says winter, it means snow and slippery. So we
Yeah.
don't really get a winter, in my opinion. It's just a lot of rain. The first year that I came here was hilarious because I came here and there's absolutely no rain at all. It was great. And I came back and it rained for like 8 months straight. And I went, what did I get myself into? But it has become home and I really enjoy it in the West Coast now.
Oh, good.
Nice. And then when you get a chance to, I mean, hopefully you get a chance to still get out and play. Where's the local course, or where's a course that you like to hit up when you get out?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky that I'm only about 20 minutes away from Raptors Knoll, and then I'm
Right.
about probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from a little park called Passive Park, and that was the original kind of in this area, the original 18-hole course that was kind of the course that everybody went to because it had 18 baskets, 18 tee pads. We put in concrete tee pads, so it was the first one that kind of became that tournament central for a while, and then with a large group of us eventually that put together Raptors Knoll, that became the place to go.
Yeah. That's quite the
Oh,
course to go and play. So if you got that on your doorstep, you're quite lucky.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
and
And
we've
I'm
heard
also
that a
really
number of
super
times.
lucky that my
Yeah.
wife is the one that actually drags me out to play almost more than I go to play.
Nice.
Oh, that's a great situation if I ever heard of one.
But yeah, no, it makes me happy a lot.
Good stuff. Well, John, at the start of our interviews, we like to find out how our guests got into disc golf. But on the Chain Out podcast, we don't just come out and ask you. That would be a lot easier than what we do. But instead, we create a fictitious origin story based on a movie. You and the listeners can guess what movie we're referencing. And after that, we'll get you to tell us the real story. So here we go. Maybe when you graduated from college, you found yourself like many of us, stuck in a cubicle, trying to remember to put the cover letters on TPS reports, and slowly being driven mad by the guy in the corner who wouldn't shut up about his stapler. The monotony wore you down until one day you snapped. You ripped the keyboard off your desk and whipped it across the room. It floated so smooth and so true that a light bulb went off. This wasn't just an office breakdown. This was a great backhand. From then on, you traded fluorescent lights for fairways, and instead of pushing paper, you pushed plastic. You found your calling selling discs, throwing discs, and building a disc golf community. Now, maybe that isn't quite how you got into disc golf.
Oh, yeah, no, that'd be a much better story than mine. But, um, honestly, what happened? It was a friend's birthday party, and we did a sports day, whereas somebody organized to go out and we played some volleyball, did some scavenger hunts, and one of those places we ended up was at Little Mountain Disc Golf in Vancouver, and unbeknownst to us, the organizer went out to Canadian Tire, I think it was, and bought a bunch of dollar frisbees, and
Right.
said, "We're going to play disc golf." And as anybody watching and has thrown one of those dollar frisbees can attest, it did not go well. And we started playing through the course for a little while and thought, this is ridiculous. Why does this thing only go 20 feet, turn to the right, and hit the ground? And then somebody, I don't know their name, I wish I did, but they walked up and said, do you mind if I play through? And they launched one out about 300 feet, and we all just stood there in awe trying to figure out. I said, yeah, you're using the wrong stuff, and just walked away. And that's kind of where it started. But searching, so he jumped online, found out what the best beginner discs were, and at that time there was nowhere local we could find them. So he jumped on some of the U.S. online sites, and he went out and found me a 3-disc pack, which was an AVR putt and approach, a Glow Rock, and a Champion Beast. And we bought those, and I swear I don't know how many rounds we played in the next month or so. The complete disc golf addicts for a while. So that's where I started.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to hear that, and definitely the starting with the frisbees and having them all drop to the right. That's a familiar story to me for sure. It took a while. I'd almost argue some people would say my game hasn't changed much since then either, but I'd like to see it's a little bit better than that.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun endeavor, and it's like everybody. You do it, and some people in our group were like instantly hooked, and other people are like, "Why are we throwing these pieces of plastic around?" was the first thought. But very quickly we got a small group of not attached to the community or the disc golf community at all, just a completely brand new group of probably 5 or 6 people, and we were going out every week or every 2 weeks and playing another round. And oh, there's another course, and playing another course, and that was the fun part where it jumped into.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'm always interested when people say the first discs that they got, they picked them up at the local pro shop, or whether they got them, at the local secondhand store or whatever it was. Do you still have those discs, or are they in a lake somewhere? Are they been handed off to other people? Do you still have any of those
Um,
original discs? Not
I
the
still
frisbees,
have
the beast and the AVR.
Yeah, I still have the Beast. It was a green Champion Beast, and I dyed it with the Green Lantern logo on it. And I still have that disc. I've lost it a number of times because it's green and Champion, but
Yeah.
somehow it keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I still have the AVR putt and approach, which is so beat in that out of my hand it just turns right and goes right forever. But
Yeah.
Okay.
it still once in a while jumps into my bag if there's a short course, so there's a lot of right turnovers. And the Rock, I have absolutely no idea where that went. It's guaranteed I lost it in some spectacular form someday.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we a couple of weeks ago we had Dion Eden on the podcast, and we talked to him about his current role as the president of the BC Disc Golf Association. Now we know that you also served as the president of the BC DGA as well. How long and when were you president?
I was the president for 2 years. I think I just did a 2-year term, and I guess Dion's going into his second term, so I guess it was a year ago that I stopped being the president. And
Okay.
in my typical fashion, sometimes I don't know when to shut up, and I saw some things I wanted to change. I opened my mouth, and through that process, all of a sudden I became the president. So it's a but before that, I had, as being involved with Ace Runners so much, I
Mhm.
sat on the board, and they offered guests could come and sit in. So for about 2 or 3 years, I actually sat in for at that point, the BC Disc Sports Society was the name at that point. And I sat in kind of an advisor and answering questions about the bigger picture stuff that I was involved in. But really just a fly in the wall, listening and listening and listening. And because I'd been there for so long, my name got put out there for the presidency role. And I thought, well, I've been here this long, I'll try it.
Ah,
I think Jeremy, that's called the Craig Sheether approach. If you want to change something, get up and do it.
yeah.
Yeah, Craig and I definitely are a little bit cut from the same cloth some days.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, okay, so that wasn't that long ago that you were actually in the president role, and we know that the BC disc golf scene has been going on for quite a while. Like I think back in '99 or sometime like that, I went out to visit a buddy. He took me out to the course, and just at that time of my life, it didn't uh, grab its hooks into me. I was too busy mountain biking, snowboarding, and that type of thing. I kind of wish it did because it would. I would of how much I love the sport now. But we know that, anyways, that BC disc golf has been going on for a while. But when you kind of joined in as president, where were you in your tenure with it? Like, what were some of the goals that you were trying to achieve, and what was kind of happening with the BC Disc Golf Association at that time?
Yeah, so I think the big thing happening in British Columbia was that a few years prior, like I said, they had been the BC Disc Sports Society for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and it encompassed a little bit of everything. Originally, it also included ultimate and guts and freestyle and things of that nature. And at one point in time, and I can't remember the exact year, but ultimate decided, you know what, we're going in a bit different direction, and they split off and created their own society. So the BC Disc Sports Society maintained what they were doing, and then they kind of still covered technically ultimate and guts and things like that and double disc court. But what was happening was the only thing they were working on was disc golf. And I'd always sort of identified that as kind of a strange piece. So when I was getting involved, it was like, well, how do we really truly focus on the only sport that we're actually doing work on? And thought, well, maybe we should start by just changing our name to not confuse, because we'd apply for a grant, said, well, what sports do you cover? Because you're just a disc sports society. So we wanted to change the name to the BC Disc Golf Association. So that was one of my things that I wanted to do. And I don't think I was by myself. Most of my ideas are trumped by a lot of conversations with a lot of people at different times. So that's kind of where one of the goals was there. And the second piece was that we are not an official, and there's 3 tiers of provincial sports association. It's kind of an affiliated, a recognized, and then an authorized, I think, are the 3 levels. And what had happened is they changed a lot of the curriculum or the criteria that you needed to qualify. So BC Disc Sports Society wasn't actually a recognized PSO at the time, and we're still not currently. So that was one thing on my table. So to get all the information through to the governing body and make sure that we checked all the boxes and jumped through all the hoops. And that's been about a 3-year process. I got, we'll say, 50% of the way through before I stepped down. And the current board is doing a really great job, and they've just submitted the new application, and they're just working with, it's called Via Sport, to finalize it. And that's a great direction, because when you're an official provincial sporting organization, it gives you that access to things like potential gaming grants and additional grants and just those next steps. So that's really where my goal was, to how do we get ourselves a little more mainstream and access to some more funding so that we could continue to grow, even though BC has been pretty ahead of the curve as far as it's going. But I think we kind of got ahead of the curve and to catch up in the Maritimes, because we're seeing a lot more courses, a lot more people involved, and some really well organized associations in those provinces.
Great.
But those were my big two goals when I was getting in there, just those 2 things, and also to try to get our insurance a little more sorted out. And I feel pretty good about how that went. But like anything you start working on, you get so far on your own, and then you kind of just pass on the baton to the next group. And the current board has been doing an amazing job pushing that forward and taking those next steps. And it's a whole lot of background and working towards what they can get moving forward right now, which is great.
Yeah.
So
that's, and you answered a couple questions we had even in there, because we were trying to think of, what kind of accomplishments, what did you get up to? And that sounds like a lot of big things to do, and almost like a really significant change too, of getting it specific to disc golf and following that path. And it's also paying that tribute and allowing those other sports to continue to do their thing, because I know that Glenn Whitlock headed up to the Larger Than Life Festival last year, and all we heard about was that he introduced double disc court to everyone. And we've been seeing that Scott Stokely has been getting back into guts and been posting a lot about that as well. So it's really good that those sports can get that, and then BC Disc Golf can focus on BC Disc Golf.
Yeah, and I haven't seen much of an organization behind them, but it's funny how they keep popping up. I mean, that blend between the ultimate group and the disc golf group, where they jump in the double disc court, and anytime you see Glenn Whitlock, there's a freestyle frisbee in his hand, and he's dancing around and flipping that thing around, and I'm trying to figure out how there's no gravity attached to him somehow, but that's the best I can guess at.
That's awesome.
You had mentioned there those two, the 2 main projects that you had tried to get implemented. What were some of the challenges that you faced trying to get those in? Were you met with a lot of headaches or challenges, or was it kind of smooth sailing once you kind of put everything in motion?
Yeah, the insurance was just a lot of understanding what we needed to do. That was pretty straightforward, and through my business backgrounds and whatnot, I understood it fairly well. So that was quite easy. The challenge with the PSO is the rules kept changing.
Right.
What if when the association split to ultimate and disc golf, if we did it on that day, we probably would have had it in place and moved forward. But then they changed the amount of members you needed, and then they changed the documents you needed and how you had to publish the documents. And it kept changing every year for a few years. And between those 2 times, it basically became a whole brand new process. So that was the biggest challenge just to step up with the new processes. And then it was also things of you need inclusion documents and how you deal with all those different people that want to play disc golf, and how you have your different ranges, if it's men's, if it's women's, if it's transgender. And they have a lot of things that you have to check the right boxes to move through. And then you have to look at, what does the PDGA say, what does your province say, what does
Right.
everybody else say, and you have to find that balancing act to do things. So that was probably the most challenging, and that's what stalled out some of that PSO application at the beginning.
Right.
And to change the name over, that was pretty straightforward, because realistically we had to write new bylaws and kind of start from scratch. And it's almost really easier when you start from scratch. So we
Yeah.
started with a very clean society and a clean set of bylaws, even though we just had rebranded it, but we started from scratch with the documentation, which cleaned up all of the basically the skeletons in the closet, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say with that too, John, is that one of our listeners and friends of the show is Brock Cicchetti, and he's our Edmonton Disc Golf Association president, so our kind of our local guy, and I'm sure he's just eating up everything you're saying about that, and how we can even use that at a local level, right? So.
Yeah, definitely, and I do know Brock a little bit as well, as he is one of the Innova ambassadors as well. And it's also been great over the years, because I've had some good conversations with a number of people in Alberta as they've been working on their association and doing things, and picking my brain and asking questions. And that's one thing that I really thought was important in disc golf, is just sharing every piece of knowledge, because why should every group or person need to reinvent this wheel? And
Right.
and the current board in BC is the exact same way. If somebody asks a question, we're more than willing to share it everywhere. But now it's actually getting to the point where I'm like, maybe we should talk to like Ontario for some of the things they're doing, or the Maritimes, or Alberta. And I have no doubt that I'm not as involved in the other provinces, but I've seen Quebec creating a great tour as well. So I mean, there's a lot of information and a lot of knowledge out there all the way across our country. And the more we share, I think the faster that disc golf is just going to continue growing in the direction it is.
Yeah. And we're definitely on the same page as you with that. We've talked about it as one of the nice things about doing this podcast and talking from East Coast to West Coast and North to South, is that we're realizing what you're saying, is that a lot of people are doing a lot of good things, and it's a little bit more about connecting us all together at this point. So everyone's done their work to establish their area. Now let's work together and grow the sport as a whole. That's my thought on the matter.
Yeah, definitely. And also, before I forget, I did notice the hat in the background. Thanks for the little OG shout out to Ace Runners there.
I got a little story about that later. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
And then I also
before we
noticed
get
the photo that you posted up on me, that I had a full beard on that photo that I think, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to surprise them today because I'm shaved.
Exactly. Yeah. Surprisingly, there aren't a lot of photos of you on the internet with the, where it's just your face sort of thing. There's pictures with you with other people standing around baskets and things like that. So that was just one of the ones that I seen there was one with you not, shaven, and one with you with the beard. And I figured, let's pick the one with the beard. And I guess wrong.
as opposed to the one that came in the email. That would have been a good one
Yes.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
That one was snapped this afternoon. Just like, oh, look, I don't look like that other picture. Because I laughed when Miles Ladder, he posted the podcast on the Innova site today, and I saw the picture that it was posted. It made me laugh. So that's when I sent you the new picture with the no beard.
Right.
If you give me
I
like
love it.
3 months when ski season happens, the beard will slowly come back.
Yeah. Good. I'm
That's
glad to hear
great.
it.
Well, and so John, not only do you were you the president in that, but we also noticed that, and you can correct us if we're wrong, but it seems like you got into doing some tournament directing as well, and that you were taking on some tournaments. Is that something you just couldn't resist and had to get into as well?
Yeah, that was the case. I really appreciated and being involved in sports my whole life. I know there's a lot that goes into running things, and then I got into playing a bunch of tournaments and playing a lot of tournaments at first. And since I enjoyed it so much, and then I saw the effort being put in by the other TDs, I started asking questions about what was needed and how I could help. And I want to say that I think I don't know, it was Eric Bachand was running some tournaments. He was one of the original owners of Ace Runners, and I just asked how could I help, and he said just go run a tournament. And that was kind of it. So I think I just stepped up, did my PDGA test, and saw what I could learn, and realized that I can do this. It's not too challenging. And then since then, geez, I don't even know how many tournaments I've run, but there have been a lot, everything from BC Open A tiers to working on the nationals at different times. And I run a ton of local D tiers. And I think I'm in the background of a lot more than I've actually ever been listed on. But it's really because I believe in sharing that knowledge with as many people as I can.
That's great.
For instance, this weekend I'm running back to back. I'm running a duck golf on Saturday, and I'm running a Masters event on Sunday, and then I have another duck golf and Masters in December, and then I'm the support for the entire series that runs through the whole winter. So basically, I help the TDs in any step they need through that entire series for the winter. So,
Wow.
I think John has somehow got access to our outline here because he's answering all the questions. It's like
He's
it's
doing
either
a
that
great job.
he's a great guest because he knows where we're going next with the next question. But yeah, we wanted to know how many tournaments you think you've organized at this point. But I mean, I guess like you said, you've been in the background of so many, you've been a part of so many. It's hard to really put a number on it. Do you remember what that first tournament that you run was called?
I believe it was probably a duck golf, and I think it would have been at Passive Park in Langley, because that would be my backyard. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's more of a guess than a knowledge. I did go through the effort at one point because I was curious to see just how many events I had run. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I went through and I basically pulled the stats from PDGA from the beginning of PDGA in Canada all the way up into 2024 just to see where am I on that list. And I'm in the top 10 somewhere of the most. Also in BC, I'll give a little shout out to Chad Smoliak.
Okay.
I don't know if you know him or not, but he has run more tournaments in Canada than anybody else listed. There could be other people before they're all, not including unsanctioned things like that. But as far as PDJ sanctioned events that he's listed as the TD, I think it was like 37 or something like that he's run already.
Wow.
And that includes everything from A to B to C's.
Yeah, and well, we had a good chance to chat with Chad and with Carrie after the Tournament Capital Open, and that was the thing, like where they've become quite the team together. Where Carrie can work on the front-facing side of it and take care of the players, questions, concerns that way. And then when something's not working with tee times, when something's not working in the background, Chad is just hammering away and making it run smoothly. And I say when something doesn't work out right, but I don't think anything doesn't work out right when Chad's working on it.
You'd be surprised at how many things he fixes before anybody else sees. So he's really good at that. And also last year was pretty cool because the PDJ did a revamp of their their TD training modules and built a whole new platform, which has been great. Last year, it was at Nationals last year. We did a sort of a TD clinic there just to try to invite people in that had never done it and just answer questions. And during that time, we were really hoping that PDJ would be finished, but they hadn't quite released it. But this year they got it out there, and for new TDs, it's amazing because you're not going to go into it just blind and thinking, what the heck do I do now? You can jump onto this platform and go through, I think, 18 modules, or one for every hole, that steps you all the way through. It's great. And the actual PDJ piece that you can run the tournament with has gotten better because it was the tournament manager, and now there's Tournament Central, which makes a lot of things a lot easier for those newer TDs, which is also awesome. But it's, again, a new learning curve for us that learned the old one. It's like, great, something brand new. It's almost the not quite AI, but the AI of disc golf coming in.
Yeah,
there you go. Well, if we stick on the tournaments just for a little bit longer, one of the things I wanted to know when I was thinking of talking to you was, what are some of the tournaments out of all these ones that you've been part of? Do you have any memorable ones? And it could be good, it could be bad, it could be any reason you want it to be. But is there one that or two that stick out in your mind where you're like, oh yeah, that tournament?
Well, the first and foremost, I've always played pretty much amateur, because I don't have any delusions that I am a true pro player of any sort. But the first one that I always like is the first time I played MP40, and I think I won that tournament, and that was in at now, of course, it doesn't exist. It's called Garibaldi Springs or Heights. It was in Squamish, and they'd put in a course near a hotel there. And I managed to have some really good rounds, probably some of the best rounds I've ever played after a few years, and managed to win that pro MP40. Nice. So that was one that sticks in my brain quite well. But then the other three are kind of equal, but for kind of a funny reason. I managed to hit the lottery twice to Beaver State Fling. When they were still a lottery system. So I got to go down there and play 2 times in the MA40 division. But the funny thing is, the first time I went, I sprained my ankle the day before the tournament the first time. So I got to hobble around and basically do standing throws for the entirety of Beaver State Fling. And I considered it a success. I don't know how I finished, but I wasn't last, and that was a success in my mind. And then the year after, I hit the lottery again. So I got a second chance to go to Beaver State Fling. And I think that
Wow.
was the year that Philo hit the albatross,
Oh,
which
wow.
was
Oh,
so being there on site. And I didn't see it, but I was like one hole over and we heard the screams. So it was kind of cool to be in for that one. But that time I had finished a shoulder surgery the year before, so I couldn't really throw my arm, or actually the month before. So my right arm was in a full sling, locked down, still on pain meds, and I was throwing left hand in that tournament after playing
Wow.
it for like 6 months beforehand because I was too stubborn to stop. And again, only goal was not to be last, and I feel really bad for the one guy that I beat, but I was second last. And he was kind of mad at me
Wow.
during the tournament, but he was a super nice guy and super encouraging. But that was that one. And the other experience was I went to Worlds one time, Worlds,
okay.
and I think I did okay. Wasn't great, wasn't bad, but being at an event that's 5 days long, all those different courses in Madison, Wisconsin, and just had a ball. It was the first time I'd experienced being in a field of like 140
Mm.
40-year-olds, and every stroke you messed up meant like 30 spots up or down, which was a really cool
Right.
experience being that way. And that's what I really, really enjoy from my competitive side of things in disc golf. And then
Yeah.
I opened a disc golf company, and I didn't play many tournaments after that.
Something else was occupying your time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And during that whole period of time, I also we also had a kid, and he's now 13. So again, a little bit more your focus goes that way. And my son does not play disc golf, so
Oh,
he knows how to, but he's just the one thing that he's nope, that's yours. I don't want to do it. It's like okay.
yeah.
That's fair.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it like me, John? Like, so my kids will come out every now and then, but usually hey, it's Father's Day. Let's take Dad out for a round of disc golf. That's when I usually get them on the course.
That's exactly it. And the funny thing is, he can actually throw. He's a strong kid. He can throw quite a long way when he gets a good throw. It's amazing. It's like, wow, you could absolutely crush me if you put an effort in. But it's just not his thing. And he skis with me. He rock climbs with me. He bikes with me. He swims with me. So I'm like, you know what? If you don't want to play disc golf, your mom and I'll go have a disc golf date.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. You've already got a willing partner who will join you, so that's good that way. Well,
Yeah.
and you kind of did a good lead in, as Daryl said. You've been helping us segue really well, and we've talked about it that many disc golfers, when they get into disc golf, they don't just get in; they dive in head first, and they really get hooked in the sport. And for Daryl and I, the version of that is that it ended up being this podcast. Daryl's also joined our local disc golf association. He's run a tournament, that kind of thing. So you've done all these things, but on top of that, being the president of the disc golf association, turning it into an association, right? And all of that stuff, that wasn't enough. You decided, why don't we open up a disc golf store as well? So can you tell us a little bit about Ace Runners and how it came about?
Yeah. So the first part was at the time that I'd started playing, I owned a fitness gym. It was called Anytime Fitness. It was a franchise. Now it's actually a large franchise, but it was like the second one we opened in Canada. And I had a lot of in the fitness industry, you're trying to convince people to work out. It's good for you. You should do it, but that's not enough. And I fell in love with disc golf at the same time. So then I became the guy that tricked people into working out by saying, why don't you try disc golf? I'd send you for a walk. If you're not good, you're doing like 100 squats to pick up your disc, and you're doing something that's entertaining. So in my fitness gym, I started selling a few starter packs and just trying to, hey, there's some alternative opportunity. And I took some of the members of the gym out a few times, and just to try to get more people hooked and something fun to do that was outside of lifting weights or being in the gym. So I did that probably in 2012, 13, I think. I opened an account with Innova at that time, selling out of technically our pro shop in the fitness gym. And
Right.
that's where I started. And that's when I was playing a lot of tournaments and going in that direction. So that was my first foray into it, but it wasn't attached to Ace Runners. Then in 2015, I didn't actually create or open Ace Runners myself. There's three guys, Eric Vachon, Wes McIntosh, and Mike McMillan, decided that, you know what, we really need something that can help the players. Their whole goal was about access to discs locally here in BC, and they created Ace Runners. It was
Okay.
purely online and at tournaments they did it, and they did it by actually at that time running the entire disc golf series, duck golf series, bringing their full stock to every single tournament for the whole year, which let me tell you is a lot of work. And
Yeah.
then and they built it up and then built an online platform, and they did that for about 2 years, but they all had full-time jobs. And then in 2017, Eric was moving to Alberta, and it seemed like they weren't going to maintain Ace Runners here in BC. So I thought, I'm going to open my own store. But I'm always a guy that likes to talk to everybody else and make sure that I'm not stepping on toes and doing too much. So I was just kind of approached it and said, you know what, I'm planning on opening a disc golf store. Just wanted to let you know, and just figuring out where Ace Runners was going, what was the plan. And at that point, Eric said, well, we've got a lot of goodwill, a good name, a lot of following. We're doing pretty good. What do you think about buying Ace Runners? And that's where it happened. So we went,
Oh,
had a good conversation. At this point, he'd already moved to Alberta. So he's in just outside of Calgary, and he had the stock with him. So after we made a deal, I drove all the way to Calgary. I loaded up, a trailer in my half-ton truck, and drove it all the way back to Vancouver through a snowstorm. And this was on like a Friday, Saturday night, and on a Sunday morning or something like that, there was a duck golf, and I unloaded it all and opened the store and did the first on-site tournament that morning after my drive back.
Wow.
And that's where Ace Runners began with me, just going like, let's just try this. Also, I should say that I had a good long conversation with my wife about, should we do this? Is this crazy? What's going on? And she's like, go for it. And her whole reason, I think, was go for it is because she was so tired of not being able to find lightweight discs anywhere
right.
locally. Because everybody at that time, back in the 2015 to 17, it was all max weight. That's what everybody talked about.
Mhm.
Max weight is all you're
Mhm.
about. And her whole goal in being part of it was, when we're ordering, well, actually, she did all the ordering. She still does to this date, even for Innova.
Right.
And she brings in the lighter weight discs and finds the kids' weight discs and the discs that everybody wants. And that was probably our bread and butter, because everybody was so excited at first that we had all these lightweight discs that nobody had ever seen before.
Right.
And but that's where it all kind of started. And it started, we moved it into a one room in our basement, like a 10 by 10 room, and had a computer and a little shipping station, and just ran it from our house.
Wow.
And then at the same time, I was in the process of selling my fitness gym. So we thought,
Okay.
does this business make sense?
Mhm.
Mm.
Should we invest in this disc golf business? I mean, are we crazy? What are we going to do? And we decided, let's invest a bit of money, build up the stock, and see what's going on. So we kind of tripled the amount of stock that I brought back from Calgary, and then worked and adjusted and built up the website and did things that were a little unique, like photo every single disc, which um, we thought was just a nice add-on, but wow,
Mhm.
people loved the actual photo of every disc right off the top. And
Mhm.
it just kept building. So it went from that 10 by 10 room to our entire basement into our garage. And at that point, with this was just before COVID. And I'd even on our deck, we had a lockbox system. So people would place orders online. It went in, I'd send them a code. They can go and pick it up off our deck at their house.
Right.
But it was just getting too busy, and people were knocking at our door at 10 o'clock at night going, hey, I can't get into the box. So we decided, let's move it into a warehouse. And we moved that business into a warehouse. Um, and and then
Yeah.
again doubled our stock again, because now we had space to grow and do things, and hired
Mhm.
some
Right.
staff and built an actual physical store in the front.
Wow.
And then in the height of COVID, when everybody was playing disc golf, we found a really good deal on an even bigger warehouse and thought, are we crazy? Are we going to do it? And we leased a 12,000 square foot warehouse.
Holy
And
cow.
Wow.
because nobody wanted that piece, we got a really good deal, which is great. But thought, well, we got to fill it with discs. So we just kept investing back in. And that's when we kind of became the biggest dedicated disc golf store in Canada. So that would have been in 1, 2, 3. I guess it was about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that we moved into that space, and just
Yeah.
had every brand, every manufacturer that we could justify bringing in, and kept growing it and growing it and growing it from there. And then we got into wholesale, and then supporting
Yeah.
stores all the way across Canada, and kind of touched on everything. And that's kind of where the whole piece went all the way through for Ace Runners. So it
Mhm.
became that unique little beast, and it was amazing to me that I would go back east and everybody knew who it was, or
Right.
it was just surprising how fast that name continued, and credit to the guys that originally opened it, because they had a vision. I just kept going with the vision, and took my spin on it from owning multiple businesses in the past and doing different things. So that's where the Ace Runner
Yeah.
story went.
Well,
Wow, that's awesome.
you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I did want to tell the story. So yeah, I did put on the Ace Runners hat in acknowledgement of Ace Runners. And when I first got into disc golf, Ace Runners was where I went to buy discs and followed you on Instagram. And you had a giveaway. I forget what the exact giveaway was, but I had to enter a name, and the prize was an MVP black hole basket. It was the Ace Runners hat. There was a starter set, and I believe there was a glow Reco. It was a glow Reco in there as well. And yeah, so luckily enough, I was the winner, and I still have the MVP basket, and I still have. I don't know if I do have the Reco. It's in my glow bag, and then obviously, yeah, I still have the hat as well. So yeah, that was a good connection from my early days of playing disc golf. And you kind of touched on it there with the whole Ace Runners, kind of how it progressed and how it um, grew and grew and grew. And maybe that is one of the things, because unfortunately here in Alberta, I mean, maybe all across Canada, we've seen disc golf stores come and go. And it seems difficult now for brick and mortar stores to succeed. But obviously, Ace Runners just kind of went from strength to strength. What do you think it takes to be a successful disc golf store? Is it being able to grow and carry more inventory?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it becomes a lot easier. And the disc golf is unique in the fact that you buy 100 discs and you can instantly sell 50.
Mm.
But then you have 50
Hmm.
on your shelf. So you buy another 100 and then you can instantly say another 50, but then you have now you have 100 on your shelf. And it
Right.
kind of goes through that cycle, and it takes growing the clientele. So I do believe there is a piece that there needs to be some financing behind it to be able to afford to build the stock enough to be able to support it. Um, but the one thing was it's tough to have a dedicated store without having something right beside the store or very, very close to the store that has your clientele, your bigger clientele base, unless
Hmm.
you're focused purely on online and spreading across the larger grouping. I think it changed a little bit. Specifically, again, I keep mentioning COVID at different times, but when that happened, everybody was looking for something to do. A lot of stores popped up right in that echelon of that huge growth of disc golf, and they were selling a ton of products and moving things around everywhere, which was good. But everybody saw this giant bubble of growth and jumped on. And it was good because there was more access and people could get a hold of everything. But at the same time, there were so many people in the game that it started to become a lot more competitive.
Right.
And the larger ones did better. And some people really extended and pushed hard to become a larger one and
Yeah.
maybe overextended. But the key factor is there has to be a lot of passion, because you have to every day figuring out what's the new mold, what's the new plastic, when's the new release, when's the new graphic, when's the new everything. And if you're not
Yeah.
doing it almost as a passion project along with the business aspect of it, it becomes very difficult. Um, and there's a few in the West that have sort of popped up and disappeared for various reasons. They haven't all been financial. They haven't all been dedication based. It's been a lot of different reasons.
Right.
So I
Okay.
think it's been fun that way.
Yeah. And while we wait for Jeremy to reconnect, because he's having some technical issues here, I did, and I'm just gonna quickly try and find it, because I did find that I put a video together of me winning the Ace Runners basket, and it was actually for a 2,000 follower giveaway.
Oh, that's where it
So
was. So
while we just wait for Jeremy to reconnect, I'm just going to show you this video. I think Jeremy's joining back in. So yeah, the black
yeah, no, that
hole.
that's awesome. And
Yeah,
it's great to see it at 2000. It kind of, because I'm trying to think of when Ace Runner switched out. Oh gosh, I don't know how many people we had following at that point, but well more than double or triple that number. So that was pretty early on, I think.
right. Just wanted to make sure exactly what we had in the giveaway. Oh, there you go. I wrote it down in the description. MVP Sports Black Hole Pro Basket, Castaplast Glow Reco, Innova Disc Starter Set, and the snapback cap as well. I don't know if we do
Nice.
have Jeremy here back or not, but I'm going to try and carry on the. You are here? Why are
Yeah.
you not? I cannot see you, Jeremy.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll
Can
jump
anybody
back
hear
in one
Jeremy?
more
Can you hear
time.
Jeremy,
We
John?
can. I can hear Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can keep going from talking. My face is that silhouette is about as beautiful as I look as well. So did that video there, Daryl, but that looked really good too from there. And I think
Mhm.
too, as we're talking about it, and you mentioned that there was some Innova product in there. Why don't we keep on jumping along there? But right before we do, I don't think you asked this question, John. If somebody in Canada was sitting here listening to us and listening to the conversation and said, "Hey, I want to open a disc golf store," what would be a couple pieces of advice that you'd give them after you say don't? But what would be the next piece of advice you might give them?
I think the first one would be get heavily involved with your disc golf community first. That's the key factor because people are, I won't say disc golfers are super loyal to one store because it's really who has the product that you're specifically looking for. But as long as you're involved in, first and foremost, your local club or your local course, even if it's just going out and doing a trail day or a maintenance day, then get involved and just get to know the people in the leagues and things like that. You don't have to be a tournament player, but you know what? It's just get involved as much as you can first. That's the big key factor because that
Mhm.
plays dividends to what your business may be in the future. And then the next piece is look really, really deeply at at what you want to invest in it and what your goals are, and make them as realistic as possible. Don't try to go giant. Make sure that as you build it on a small scale, you understand what's involved before you go too big. Because if you go big really early, it's a lot of capital, a lot of investment, and then if it doesn't work out right away, it's very scary. So that's it. Get really involved first and foremost, and create a very measured and careful plan, and give yourself this kind of timestamps of at this point I want to do this, at this point I want to do this, and then at each one of those reevaluate and make sure you're going in the right direction. And that's kind of the same advice I give people to opening their own business or doing that and anything. But
Mhm.
in disc golf, it's very specific. Just make sure that you're getting involved first and foremost, and then give yourself more than you can chew. I guess would be the easiest one, and be realistic.
Great.
Well, that's great advice for sure. Definitely. And you're right. The whole thing is a lot of times I think like I've looked at a couple other businesses in my past. And one of the things I think people underestimate is how much money it's going to take. They're like, okay, yeah, no, I've got this good budget and that. But as you said, is you buy a bunch of discs and 50 are going to sell right away. But some of them are going to be that color that nobody wants or something else. And you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with them. So make sure you've budgeted for that as well, for sure.
Yeah, and I jump into a lot of things as far as, and the Ace Runner story kept going because once Ace Runner was up there and successful, we did the retail, the online, did the wholesale, did that whole piece, and then I continued down the road. And I don't even know if you know this one. There's another company that's fairly unknown that's not actually running per se right now. It's called Go To Disc Golf.
Mhm.
Oh,
So that
cool.
is
Yeah.
that's a company I created, and we did that
Okay.
with some we made some rangefinders, some retrievers, but I also went through the process of creating disc golf molds, finding the plastics, and actually molding. Um, I think 3 PDJ approved discs that are in a
Yeah.
starter set from Go To Disc Golf. So I created that. So there is another Canadian company fully done in Langley, British Columbia by myself, and we created that. And I went through that process and thought, what, is this where I want to do based on building a starter set? And thought it's kind of cool. But in that whole process after doing it, then went into the Innova transition. So that
Yeah.
kind of got
Mhm.
shelved. So there is
Yeah.
this little sideline sitting there in the background that there's a few people that have been considering it, but it's just kind of it's there, and we still on the Ace Runners online only store. There's a bunch of those starter sets still available, so it's kind of a
Yeah.
cool little carrot, just another one because I try almost everything. The number of businesses and whatnot I've tried over the years. Um, a funny little one. Ever heard of bubble soccer before? Where people wear these
No.
big inflatable globes over their body.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
soccer while wearing them. Well, I brought that into BC and I ran a company for a couple of years. We brought it out to birthday parties and universities and had a ball, but
Yeah.
until I broke all the balls, then that company just got shut down.
Right.
Oh, that's
Well,
awesome.
speaking of those go-to discs, we actually did a we did the 3 disc challenge, the starter set. We ran one of those in Edmonton, and I participated in it. I think Sonia is in the chat. We did it together. So yeah, I think I have some of those discs here. Probably, I think they're in my kind of starter bag that I have if I ever take anybody out to go and learn disc golf. I kind of show them. I think we had the bongo, the cowbell, and there was another one, but I'm sure you'll be able to remember.
The gong.
The gong. Yeah.
Yeah, so
There
we
we
went with
go.
a music theme, and then
Yeah.
I think it started with a cowbell, and back to that old SNL Will Ferrell scene, and even the image on it is a cow that kind of looks like Will Ferrell. But
Yeah.
it was just more about let's make fun of disc golf more than try to be too serious, and just have fun. That was the whole goal of that. But again, it's just I like to learn, so that was
Right.
a giant, I don't know, 2-3 year learning process of how it all works and going through. But it also gave me a lot more of those knowledge and skill sets. So when and we go to that transition to Innova again, it's
Hmm.
they're like, oh, this guy knows how to run an online store, how to do a wholesale store, how to run a retail store. It's like, oh, you know how to mold discs too? You can hot
Right.
stamp, you can print. It's like it kind of catches all those pieces. So that was a nice transition. Just the skill sets that you bring forward, and that's how you can kind of keep transition. Just keep learning. That's the key
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, and you've led us into it there, was with Ace Runners being as successful as it had been, and you caught the eye of Innova there too. And then now Innova takes on the space in the area as far as we understand, and then you take on the role of president of Innova Canada. Can you tell us how you're enjoying that so far, and maybe what some of the challenges of that new role are in this next step in your career?
They were basically the bulk of our business as well at that time. So the majority of our sales were Innova. That was the majority of our stock. If we kind of broke it all down, they covered a huge piece of it. So the transition was pretty good from that standpoint. I know there was a lot of people sad that all of a sudden the warehouse in Langley didn't carry all these other brands that they'd been used to seeing there.
Hmm.
But from a business standpoint, you always have to look at the numbers in the sense and what direction the businesses are going on. And there's a certain level where you could always keep pushing and build your business to what you want to be. But as I was not a manufacturer, it started to make more sense to start aligning myself with a company that was the manufacturer. And it didn't hurt that Innova is the first one that did it, and they're pretty large globally. And I'd all have a good relationship with a number of the people at Innova already. So when they started to, geez, it makes sense to support each country. And they didn't even think on the grounds of all the new tariffs and wild, crazy cross-border things. But we'd started
Right.
this process before then. But the whole goal was to, and my question to Innova is like, why do you want to be in Canada? And they
Mhm.
say they wanted to support the Canadian players and businesses better than they could from being in a remote country. And that was kind of their thought. So we want to create Canada in the fact that it's going to be easier to support the growth of disc golf and the Canadian Innova players and disc golf in Canada being in a physical entity.
Hmm.
And that meant a lot to me because I like the idea of they had to open a Canadian company. They have to pay
Mhm.
Canadian taxes. They had to hire Canadian staff. So it was
Right.
really, it's not like a foreign entity coming in. It's like creating a new Canadian entity. And that played very clear to what I like doing and how I wanted to do it. And also it's fun to jump into a new business and bring new ideas. And each day it's kind of, I feel like I'm sitting down with the crew that's been there longer than I have, and something that I think, wow, this is a stupid idea, somebody must have suggested this many times over, but I bring it up anyway because I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. And and then they're like, that's a great idea, and I'm like, wow, it's nice to open arms. They're more than happy to hear a new voice and new ideas to move forward, and that's what I see with a progressive business as well.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little bit selfish on this next question, Jeremy, and I follow. I only throw Innova discs purely just because I like their plastic. I didn't throw them for a long time. I was an MVP Axiom guy, a little bit of everything else, but then, and I guess maybe in the beginning I thought that they were your dad's or your granddad's discs because they've been around so long, like they had that heritage, but you had this new brand, with gyro technology. So I kind of went down that road. But as soon as I started feeling the plastic and how they flew, then that was a kind of a no-brainer. And now that's all I throw. So I do follow Innova Discs and Innova Canada and the Innova Pro Shop on Instagram, and I always see on Fridays that they have F2 Friday down in the States, but we don't. I know we have F2 discs up in Canada on the Innova Canada store, but we don't have an F2 Friday up in Canada. Is there ever going to be an F2 Friday for us where we can get discounts on discs every week?
So that would be in the realm of a solid maybe. So there's a little bit behind that. So here's a simple solution: is you've got a factory here, you've
Hmm.
got a wall here, and you've got a pro shop here. So those
Right.
factory second discs can literally literally be thrown into the other store. So there's no transport cost. There is no overhead cost to move them from one side to the other. They just get there. So the cost and the barrier to that means that those F2s in the factory store are a lot easier to bring in there. So that's where they have a little bit more opportunity to create those deeper discounts and things like that. And we only started bringing the F2s in a few months ago, actually.
Right.
So it's a brand new program into Canada. We're trying to expand it and figure out what we can do to move forward and give those opportunities. But we also have to consider, the cost per disc to ship from California to get over the border, the taxes, the import, all that kind of stuff. So there's a little more cost to it. So is there something that may come along as far as something akin to an F2 Friday? Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and promise or even pretend that I have a date or a time or a thing from there, but but definitely the question has been asked by many people is like, hey, how do we get that? And the other challenge is a lot of people go like, oh, great, I'll just go buy it from the States. Just bear in mind, if you do, don't be too shocked when you see that import fee or something that could possibly happen. Not always. Sometimes it shows up and you don't get a red cent added. Other times it could be very shocking.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
definitely.
we just have a question, just because we were talking about discs and things like that. We have about it's easy to bring discs from one store to another factory, with that wall, but bringing them across into Canada, like, is there a selection process? And I know you mentioned your wife does the ordering, but do you try and get all the new discs? Like, obviously, the Fox is the new one, which is available on Innova Canada. I believe it is. I don't even know the website. I type it in; it's already repopulated. But and we see a lot of tour series discs and things like that. Like, what is the process of trying to order discs to bring into Canada?
And before you answer too, John, there, sorry, I'll get to Sonia's question as well. And the kind of, if you switch those words around a bit, do you get to try all of those new discs? Is kind of what we're seeing there too.
Yeah.
So the first one is, we typically try to bring the entire product line. There's some that we might not have just because there's been no requests, or they're a disc that's been around for a long time and nobody's really requested them. As soon as somebody starts to request something, we can typically bring it in. But we have tried to bring in, to the best of our ability and financial ability, every mold, every plastic, and every weight. But there's going to be some holes in that even still. But we've done a pretty good job of hitting all the spots that are available to bring in. As far as new releases, new molds, we're almost always going to get the new molds because that's kind of the newest, shiniest, most wonderful thing that everybody wants to try.
Yeah.
Do I try all the discs? No, there's still a few out there that I've not thrown. I have been able to cheat a few times because we run a lost and found program. So most of the discs come into our warehouse, and for a while we had a large throwing net. So I could, oh, look, somebody lost this one. I can throw it a few times in the net, maybe not in a field, but I've thrown them mostly into a net. But there's just so many, and my arm and the speed that my arm is, I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to be throwing the Juggernaut. I'm not going to be throwing the Chargers and things, the big fast discs as much. Unless I drop them down to a 150, then, oh, look, I can throw them all of a sudden. But the Fox is a great example because, well, in general, the world has adopted it pretty well. But it's an awesome disc. It made it into my bag as soon as I tried it. I thought, a stable to understable mid-range, do I really have a space for that? But boy, oh boy, if you haven't thrown it, that's probably one of my favorite discs that just came out of a box to give it a shot in a long time.
Oh, that's great. Well, and you talk about
to try all the new ones. I could, but I still have to buy them. I don't get them all for free.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Well, and when you're talking about Innova and how wonderful they are, is I do still throw a pretty open bag. I've got some Innova mixed in there as well. But we had Jeff Panis on a while back there, and he told us about just how great the company was from going out and having their weekly rounds and playing together, and Dave still going out and being part of it. And we've heard Sophia talk about going down when she was working to get on the team, and it's just always good positive things coming from the company. And then on top of that too, we were at Nationals just over a month ago, and Innova, obviously Daryl Bankus has had his ties with Innova, but the support from the company was all over the place, whether it was in the banners and the flags and that type of thing, but also the big truck being out there and a huge setup and having our local players' discs available for sale. It's just it's been great to see what Innova's been doing in Canada here. And I think Daryl he has a long list of some of the players that he was pretty excited to see that Innova's sponsoring as well. Hey, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, you mentioned a couple there already. Recently Sophia Donica is on Team Innova. We got Rebecca Don as well, Alexandra Paleto, people that we've had on the podcast before, Nico Forbes, a great young player. Casey Hannemeyer has just signed with Innova as well. And then obviously more long term, you can't forget Martin Hendel as well.
And
Yeah, it's been fun to see it. Kind of in conjunction with getting Innova Canada, they opened up a few more player spots for us in Canada, and we wanted to. And here's the challenge: that we've got quite a few on the East Coast, quite a few on the West Coast, but kind of nothing in between. And we didn't have a lot of juniors, so those are the two things we want to do. We wanted to extend a few more juniors, extend a few more women's positions, but also try to not add a whole ton in one spot. We want to kind of spread the love, but also we want to consider where is the hotbeds of disc golf. So how do we get a few more people in those spaces that A, we want to grow, but B, are already growing at large as well. So we did add a number of players last year. I think we're going to add a few more in Canada this year, just trying to identify it. We get every day or so, I think I get another email for somebody who wants to know how to get on the team. And we're in the process of putting a link on our site to allow people fill it out so they can actually just apply right now. If you look at innovadiscs.com and you look under team, you'll find an email. It's team.manager@innovadiscs.com, and that's where you just send your email and your request. But we'll have a link before the end of the year for people to apply, and a little more detail as to what Innova is looking for those players. But yeah, we've been trying to extend the team, and you've probably also seen on our social media that we've been trying to announce and give a little bit of light to every single player out there and do the best we can to promote them to a certain extent.
Yeah. So you mentioned about sending the email. I have sent the email a few times. I reached out to Daryl Bankus just to see what the process was. And he had mentioned that, I think I had applied in January, and he said that we don't normally accept applications in January. It's more of a end of season application process sort of thing. It said, send the email, CC him on it. So I did all of that. But for other people that are actively trying to get onto that ambassador team or the educators, things like that, do you have any tips for people aspiring to be joining Team Innova?
Yeah, and there's kind of three levels. We've got junior, we've got ambassadors, and then we've got the sponsored team. A lot of people jump in and want to be, hey, how do I get sponsored? And that's what they first think, and they don't consider the different levels. And typically, because there are so many people that want to be sponsored by Innova, they've kind of put together a process to be on the actual sponsored team. You're playing at a pro level, either men's or women, or mixed or women's. And then for the mixed, you have to be at least 1,000 rated before you'd be considered for the sponsor team, or there has to be some other special circumstance that make them consider it. Maybe like for instance, a celebrity sponsorship or something like that.
Right.
And for the women's, I believe it is 900 to be rated. So there's only a handful. There's probably about 10 or 15 women in Canada that hit that mark. And there's probably about the same amount of guys, I think, that hit that mark as well, with an up and coming junior crowd that I have no doubt are going to slowly start to crush those numbers, because we've seen some of these kids do amazing things. From an ambassador standpoint, it's more looking, what are you a great promoter of something? And I don't think it has to necessarily be disc golf, but that is obviously what really, really helps, because we're looking for people that are going to go out and promote to schools and do clinics and work with local clubs, or maybe it's developing courses or all those types of things. But it's basically selling yourself as to, why does Innova want to give you a bunch of free product to shout from the rooftops and use whatever platform it is, whether it be a podcast or whether it be just your local clubs or your schools in your area. And then the third one is the juniors, which is, there's no expectations. We do look for juniors that are up and coming, that are playing a lot, is the goal. And in the perfect world, have a chance to eventually become a world champion. That's kind of what you want. Nico's a great example. Little kid, loved disc golf beyond all things, and went out and became a world champion. And that is the perfect. In the perfect world, as he gets older, he'll hit the next age category, get a little bit better, do it again. Hit the next age category, do it again. And the scary part for juniors is when you kind of hit that 17, 18, they really want to become pro. So if they start collecting cash, you're not really a junior player anymore, you're a pro player. So there's that balance point. But if somebody stays in an amateur status, Rebecca's a great example of that one, where she won. Did she win Junior Worlds? Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. Yeah,
she did.
I have.
And then, but then her rating got above 900. So she transitioned from being a junior player into the pro sponsored team. But if her rating never got into that next step, it's like, okay, you don't want to go to juniors go like, great, thanks for all you've done for the last bunch of years, but you never hit that number. See you later. So you kind of have to be picky to find the right people that are going to be with you long term and want to stay long term. But we also want to. But the big one for juniors, just go out, play, find juniors with the support of their parents and their communities, and are playing a lot and playing well.
Yeah. Good.
Now, we have another question in the chat, and it's a disc that Jeremy and I know a lot about, and it's a special run of discs. For when we went out to nationals, one of our player pack discs was the Glow Soft Firefly. Now we know that they're a limited run. Do you have any information on whether there will be another run, or is that kind of a one and done type of deal?
Yeah, so as you've seen, we've been doing some more of the soft runs of different products. There's no specific in the queue right now to do another run of those. They've been pretty positively embraced for the people that got them. They like the way they feel. They like the way they fly. We still do have a few of them for sale, I think, at Innova Canada.
Okay.
And I think Daryl on the East Coast may still have a few at Hoke Goat in the pro shop there for sale as well. So if you're on that side of the woods, you can grab them there. But some of these specific soft runs and releases, they don't always come out right away. It may be a little while before we run them again because it's a matter of machine time and uptake on them. But this was kind of a lot of talk back and forth to how do we do something unique for Canada? And that was, again, Innova Corporate went, you know what, yeah, we're going to do something special for it this time. But it also didn't hurt that Daryl's been involved with Innova for a long time and has run some big events with the Q Series last year and then the Nationals this year and doing it. So we tried to do something a little bit bigger because we did have such a large field of people and it's just something new. And he also created that glow in the dark thing and had the group, I can't remember the name of the guys that set up the glow courses. Disc in the dark, is it? Or
yeah,
Disc in the dark. And when you set something up with their ability to run glow lights down all the sides of the fairways, it only made sense to do something slightly special for that. So that's kind of where that one came from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and it's great. And you mentioned that, John, is to me, we had such a good time that entire week that we were in Ontario. But a highlight for us and for so many people was that glow setup because everyone's played glow disc golf, but you haven't played glow disc golf like the way that Adam and Disc in the Dark sets it up. So yeah, it was amazing. And we're talking about getting him. I was like, we always make some exceptions for some Americans if they have a Canadian connection, and we want to bring him on the show just because of how awesome it was and how everybody should get a chance to experience it.
Yeah. But and I don't know if you've ever gone and set up a glow round before. Just getting the baskets and just lights on individual baskets and maybe some lights on the tee pads, that's an undertaking in itself. And what they set up, it just blows my mind away what it would have taken to do that. But obviously they're pretty amazing at what they do.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, Daryl, we talked about it too, is that also we got to see, we had not really been on the course except for at the glow round. And then the next day we walked around it when it was light and there were perils and dangers in a lot of spots that could have caused us trouble. But because of the way he sets it up, unless you're throwing wildly, you stay on the track and you'll be okay. You won't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But John, and Daryl, speaking about the States and all of that type of thing there, I've been down in Memphis. I'm listening to another one, but I really didn't want to rack up the roaming charges. So I had to find some radio stations and that. I found a great rock alt radio station, listened to a lot of my favorite artists were coming on. Sublime's been on, Pearl Jam's been on, even Weezer. So I found myself coming back to the hotel, getting ready for the show, just grooving to Weezer's Island in the Sun, a little hip, and oh, hang on. Where am I going with this? Speaking of islands, Daryl.
Relaxing cruise, however, the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island, and fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
Sometimes I can see your segues coming, Jeremy. Sometimes they just come out of left field, but that was a good one. So, yeah, it's that time in the podcast, John, where we take you on this fictitious cruise. You go down, you grab your bag that only has 3 discs in it. You swim to this island. Which 3 discs are you hopefully have in your bag that you're going to take with you to this island?
This is a challenging one for a guy that has way too many discs in his garage and seems to randomly throw them in my bag every different time I go out. But and I think in every case I have kind of 2 that I torn. I traditionally putted with a Yeti Pro for a long time. This is my go-to putter. But I really like soft plastic, and that's why I like that one. So lately I've been putting with a big bead AVR driver soft because I
Okay.
just like how soft they are.
Yeah.
So if I'm on a desert island, it's going to be super hot, so I don't need to be so soft. So I think I'll go back to my Yeti Pro.
Okay.
Um, and then you know what? It's brand new, but it's got a special place in my bag. I'm going to bring a Fox with me now. I think my Fox will
Okay.
be my mid-range.
Yeah.
And then for a fairway or a driver on a desert island, geez, better not be a small one. But I think I like, and it's a weird one for a lot of people to say, and I'd be tossed up again, a new one versus an old one, a Roadrunner versus a Gorgon. Um,
Okay.
the Roadrunner I like because when you first get them, they're straight as an arrow and go a long way. And then
Hmm.
once you season them in, then it's that beautiful turnover disc.
Right.
Whereas the Gorgon is that cheat code to do that exact thing right away.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the two different. So yeah, I think I would probably, if I had to just guess now, what is the 3 discs I'll put in my bag?
Yeah.
And trying to step completely away from my mind, going like, hey, what do I suggest so people want to go out and buy them tomorrow? I'll go with my Yeti Pro, my Fox, and I'm going to throw that Roadrunner back in my bag just for fun for me.
Right. And that's
Nice.
interesting because when we had Jeff Panis on the show, he said that a lightweight Roadrunner is a cheat code for distance for new beginners because you can get it to pop up, you can get it to do that nice S turn, and you can gain all that extra distance. So, but yeah, the Gorgon is definitely a great disc as well.
Yeah,
So
and it's
Yeti,
funny. The other thing is, I feel like I can take any disc and change it to how I want just by changing my weights, which has been the thing. I
yeah,
was that typical.
Mhm.
Everything was max weight. Everything was this big disc, max weight apes in my bag when I started going, I'm going to throw this all day. Nothing
yeah,
but left turn.
yeah,
And then over time, as I, through my 40s and as I hit 50, it was like, oh, look, I really like that 160 weight. It seems nice.
yeah. I don't know what it is. I know when we first started, maybe it was just the availability, or we didn't know a lot about weights, but yeah, quite common for most beginners, I think, in their bag is that 173, 175. If they don't have it in your particular color, then you get a 178 or whatever it might be. But when you start, like you said, once you get a little bit more experienced, and you start realizing what takes, as I always like to say, it takes a big man to throw lightweight discs. Like, you don't have to feel like you're a big man with a big arm to throw max weight discs. Like, the lightweight discs are definitely they have their place. And I know me and Jeremy have now started to kind of shift our bags that way and include a lot more lightweight discs. But just as an extra follow up to the desert island disc question, I will just interject here and say that it is funny whenever I ask this question. I don't know what Jeremy puts in the outline, but it has people tend to gravitate towards a putter, mid range, and a driver. Even though on this fictitious island, people make up the wind, or it's too humid, or it's a fictitious island. You can pick whatever you like. But if you could transport one course to the island, and that would be the only course you get to play until you get rescued with your Yeti Pro, Fox, and Roadrunner, which course would you want to have there?
Gosh, with my limited experience in different courses, I know a lot of them in BC. And you know what? I think I'm spoiled because I have raptors in the backyard, so I want to
Right.
pick something that let's go with what the world is saying is amazing, and having watched some of the coverage last weekend, let's put Maple Hill on this island. Seems like a good
Yeah.
Okay.
thing to go with.
Yeah, that's a good course.
I don't think you
Definitely.
can
But
go wrong with that
No.
choice anytime.
yeah,
Exactly.
there's too many times I've seen different holes that, I want to try that, even though I know it's going to absolutely eat me up. I still want to try it.
Yeah. It's always
Well,
also always funny. Last week we spoke to Ben Smith, and we said, it's always interesting when you speak to course designers because they know and they can, I think one guest we had on there that they didn't really want a course, they wanted an excavator so they could create their own course on this island so they could tailor it to however they wanted it. So yeah, that's always fun to hear people's answers.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, John, for being on the podcast. But before we let you go, we wanted to give you the floor to shout out any sponsors you might have or anything else that we didn't cover. Now's your time to mention it.
Yeah, well, I guess I should shout out Innova Champion Discs because hey, they now pay me a paycheck, so that's a great thing. But the big one that I want to do is I think I just want to thank all the volunteers involved in disc golf. That's the biggest one because
Mhm.
disc golf is, yes, it's a business, but it would not be where it is without all the volunteers that build courses, that maintain courses, that run tournaments, that going tournaments. So if you've ever done anything for disc golf, thank you so much from myself and from Innova. And if you haven't tried it, go and give it a shot. There'll be a lot of
our first chances to volunteer in the last little while, starting last year, and we've really enjoyed it. And Daryl's had a chance to do a tournament too, and same kind of thing. It's giving back is a lot of fun, and people don't realize that spotting on a hole at a big tournament or even at any tournament can be just as fun, and it's a lot easier on your arm as well. So, but John, we've heard so much about Raptors, whether it's Judah Hawks coming on the show or Miguel Alvarado, you name it, anybody who's there, Chris Hartman himself too, one of the designers. And we know we're going to have to get out there, but it's going to be for Daryl. It's almost going to be like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory when he gets out there to get into the Innova store. So I think we've got a twofer, and maybe it's a threefer if we get out there for BC Open. So we got to get out there and check it out and meet you in person.
That's it for sure. Well, when you do end up on this side of the water, it's more than happy to give you a tour around Raptors. That was such a fun course. I mean, I know I'm not by no means I'm the first person that talked to the township of Langley about that property. I know there's lots of people before me. It just I happened to have the luck of reaching out to the city planner, and on the day that he was willing to accept it, when I said, "Hey, well, can we build a disc golf?" and he said, "Well, send me a proposal." I'm like, "A proposal?" And I was on the phone that afternoon with Chris Hartman and Stuart McKissick, and the three of us chatted, and then we brought on Wes McIntosh again from Ace Runners, and then we also brought in Michael Van Elberg, and we created a society in Langley, and that's where they're the original founders of it, and then just ran from there, and with the hundreds and hundreds of people that joined afterwards. So that is a passion project that truly, in my experience, personally, I'm sure there's lots of others like it. It's where the community built that course, and it's just been awesome to have in my backyard.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks again for joining us on the show, and have a great night. And if you ever need to get some information out there that we can help you out with, just reach out. We're more than happy to put it in our socials or mention it in one of our episodes.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure, and you guys have a great night.
Awesome.
You
Thanks,
too.
John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Daryl, we did it. We did
Yeah.
another episode from afar, and it was another great episode. Like when you have a guest like John, who, as you said, it like constantly, he was like, he's got giving us those nice full answers, and they're answering the questions, and it's
Yeah.
almost like, it's like, do all of us have the outline, or is it just you and me?
Exactly.
It's-
I mean,
so it was perfect.
yeah, it's got its good side. It's got its pros and cons because, you know, you do such a good job putting out the outline, and it makes it flow and everything like that. But then when the guest starts answering the next three questions, we're kind of in panic mode a little bit. We're like, okay, we can't ask that question. He's already answered that question. Where do we go? But, you know, you wouldn't notice it from watching it and listening to it. But yeah,
It
no,
shows our excellent skill set as podcasters that we're able to come up with other questions
we
and
roll with the
other things
punches,
on the
Jeremy.
fly.
Yeah,
Even
like,
when a camera stops halfway through as I'm touching my eyeball.
exactly. Yeah. No, and like so, and we say this all the time, and I don't know if it's the guests that we're getting on, or it's just that the amount of people that we speak to in Canada, that everybody seems to have a great story. Everyone has so much information about the early days of disc golf and how things got started, and you know how they were involved, and it was only this when they first got involved, and now we know it as, you know, this big event or this big course or everything like that. So it's always great to hear like the origins of, you know, I know you always say give people their origin story, but to hear the origin stories of so much of Canadian disc golf, it's always a good listen.
Yes, and even at the very end there when he's mentioning the names and you know, his part and everybody else's part in getting Raptors Knoll started, and we always knew about Chris Hartman and Stu McKissick because they did the actual course design, but
Right.
even hearing Michael Van Elberg's name too, because that's Sierra's dad that we
Yeah,
had on the
exactly.
show as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's really cool to kind of continue to connect the dots of this large but small disc golf community that we have in Canada.
Yeah. And it's just like you said as well, where, you know, Carrie Neal, you mentioned that in Western Canada, everybody knows who Carrie Neal is, right? Because she's been involved in that market. But
Mhm.
you go a little bit further east, maybe her name doesn't show up as much, but then you'll hear another whole bunch of names that are everyone is known in that local area. Then you go a little bit further east again, and then you get into the Daryl Bankers. Then you go to the Ben Smith and the Duncan Dixons. Like, so really, once, like we've always said, or you've always said, is about bringing everybody together to introduce the Kerry Neals to the Duncan Dixons and the Ben Smiths and the Daryl Bankerses and Jason Tays and whoever it might be in between, to get them all there and see that they're all doing the same thing and we're all striving for that same thing of just elevating Canadian disc golf.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And so one thing I was going to ask you was, you did a really good job. Like, you kept your Innova fanboy questions to a minimum. How many more did you have in your back pocket that you were waiting for there?
I mean, yeah, I've been accused of being an Innova fanboy quite a lot, so it's probably not a thing that I'm going to discuss on air and go down that fanboy route. I did get the F2 question in there because that's always, it. And I don't know if Innova Pro Shop checks their Instagram account, but every time the F2 Friday reel comes out, I always send them a message relaying it to, okay, well, this is good, but when are we getting it in Canada? This is good, but when are we getting it in Canada? So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we should do at this point, Daryl, like we do at the end of the episode. It looks like everybody in the comments, thank you for being in there and filling the comments section up and asking questions and being part of this. And, if you enjoyed it as much as we did, do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast. And if you have already, maybe tell a friend and see if you can get them to subscribe and help support us. We're sitting right now at about 458 subscribers. We want to grow. We want to do that big giveaway for 500 and keep growing Canadian disc golf. And one of the ways to do it is through our socials. Don't forget, we got a bunch of discount codes for you. We've got the BR disc golf code and the Cardinal disc golf code. Use chain out at checkout and get 10% off. When we checked in with Brendan, a couple things we had. What was it again, Daryl? I'm going to go back up to the top here. It was before that we had Daft Dolphin ended up winning Brendan's 1,000 subscriber or 1,000 follower Instagram one, and we didn't know exactly where they were from, but they were quite excited, and they're a big disc golf dyer and a big disc golf fan. And then on top of that too, BR Disc Golf has got the new Ledgestone AX5 grip bags that Brendan thinks that he's the only one in Canada who has them. So you can pick that up there, get 10% off with our discount code. And he's got a ton of other grip stuff as well. And as for Cardinal, they've always got new jerseys coming up. They've always got great ones.
We did Gannon keeps winning.
Yeah, that's true. Every time he wins, he gets another one put up there to get. And I think, as even John alluded to, there is the tariffs and stuff to keep in mind, but hopefully that's settling down. I don't hear about it on the news as much, so maybe it's gonna disappear before we know it. You can also use Chain Out for Chains, the disc golf board game. You can get 25% off that, and you can use the code COP15 at Goat Towel, the greatest of all towels, to get 15% off there. And I think that should probably help you spend all your money in all the right places and get some discounts while you do it. and if you want to support us, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and if you don't have any money left, head over to patreon.com/chainout, sign up for a free level.
Yeah, that's right. Sign up for free level and support us that way. If you join at any paid level, you're automatically entered into all of our contests. And you also are part of our live episodes that we do after this Chain Out episode, and we'll try to get you in interacting and always looking for new ways. Like, as soon as we get some new hats or other Chain Out gear, you'll have an ability to get those at a discount, definitely, when we start putting those out there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Daryl, around the basket, it's going to be about 15 minutes. I'll see if I can fix my camera. I did come up with my backup camera, but hopefully people will join us over there and participate with us. But you kind of, I think, speaking of all this Innova talk we've done all night, didn't you just have Miles of Discs, an MOD moment recently here?
I had, he is connected because it was Innova Canada that actually put the post out there. They have done, if you haven't seen it, follow Innova Canada on Instagram. They have been running a silhouette challenge, a profile silhouette of a disc. you have
So
to
they're
look at
putting out a circle, like a picture of a black, like a dark
a,
shadowy
si-
circle, and you're
a
supposed to
side
guess what disc
a
it is.
side profile.
Oh, I was going to say the only one I could get if that's what they were doing was that new square SpongeBob disc that I think is a Doomsday disc that's
Right.
actually square. Have you seen that one? It's the only one I would get. So, anyways, keep going.
Yeah, they put out a silhouette challenge. They did it before. I think they had the Rock X3, or it was a Rock. I don't remember which one it was, but the most recent one they put out there, I went and looked at this silhouette. I looked at it and I thought, yeah, you know what? I can see the parting line. I can see the distance to the ratio of the. No, what I did was I went into my garage and got my 9 speeds and held them up to the silhouette and was like matching them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Valkyrie. So yeah, I ended up winning. So I have a Halo Star Valkyrie coming my way from Innova Canada. So I'm excited
Sweet.
once the Canadian Post gets back into running order.
Well, congratulations on that.
But you know what I'm going to do when I do get it, because it's a Halo Star.
No
It's a
clue.
9-speed, so I think for me that's going to be it's going to be a disc that I would throw on hole 9 at Rundle Park. Downhill.
The big downhill, yeah.
The big downhill, yeah. It's down on the tee. But what I like to do is I like to have something with a bit of turn so that it can push out to the right side, get that bit of extra distance. I know some people throw putters, but that's okay. But 3/4 of the way down the hill, all of a sudden it opens up. You're going to get a big right to left wind, which is
And then
perfect.
it's
I've put it
gonna-
down there. I've put it out there to the right.
Really, it's going to keep going in the air. So this is going to be the first time it's ever gotten to the basket. Or is it going to cut roll like mine do and roll over to the
Yeah, it's going to keep turning and go into the trees on the right hand side. No, it's going to come back. It's going to start being blown back to the left. It's going to come back to the disc, the basket. And you know what it's not going to do?
It could never possibly, because this is a Innova disc that you've won with
I
your
know.
hard-earned silhouette knowledge.
Exactly. There's only one thing it'll never do,
It could
and
not
that is
possibly
chain out. Thanks, everybody.